almost went live. Did not mean to do that. So let's turn this guy off. And here I am. It's me. Oh my God, everybody. It's been like crazy with the PDIs. I have one, two, three PDIs. Um, one is on like my partner account, another is on like my personal account, and then another is on like a company account. But anyways, so I use like one for demos, I use one for like producing my content, and I have a backup one for like something's wrong with one of the ones I was working in. So it's been really frustrating the past couple of days. It feels like it's been about a week, but I don't think it's been quite a week that the PDIs haven't been available. I don't know if it's impacted you. I do know it impacted a lot of people, I heard. So what that means for me is that I didn't get to put out SSH or ServiceNow store highlights, which I'm still not ready to do. I was still actually going through all the applications. But however, you may have realized a couple weeks back, might have been more than a month now, that the ServiceNow store went underneath a UI change, right? So that basically, excuse me, it basically looks very different now. It still loads the old UI, which is really annoying. But then we get the new UI. It looks like this. Well, my friend Jace, you might have seen him on the channel last week. We were doing our Knowledge 25 recap from the Venetian in Las Vegas. And Jace found with this new update, because he's doing some stuff with the ServiceNow store too, a way for me to get the details I want. And let me show you what I mean. So if I open an app that I have crawled in the ServiceNow store, I'm keeping a running history of the versions and when it was created and the release notes. And you can see at some point, um, I started losing the release notes, and there's some other fields that aren't showing up properly. Like you can see it right here, the summary field, the release notes field is empty. Let's check on the application details. Some of this may or may not be accurate depending on how that's writing. So I was like, I got to fix this at some point. It's been on my list to do. My PDI was down since like Thursday or Friday last week. And so I didn't even know yesterday what I was going to do today's live stream. So when it came back up, I was like, well, I could fix the crawler that I know needs to be fixed, and then you guys can learn a little bit of something about Flow Designer and doing integrations or doing crawls like I'm doing with ServiceNow in order to get information from somewhere else, pull it back in, and make use of that information. And for me, it's like actually understanding what's new, what was updated, what was removed. Not that I've said that before, from the ServiceNow store, and so it's really important to me that this is working properly. So what we're going to try to do is fix this issue right here, where I have no summary, no release notes. And the reason it's important to me is because you can see down here, good, my head's not in the way, that there's repeated release notes. If I can't see that there's repeated release notes, I don't know that, right? Because it's really hard in this new UI that ServiceNow has to kind of see and compare versions, right? So I can flip back and forth like this, and I can change the release and then go to this. And my system's not even architected to understand that there is a version release relationship. I just have versions. I don't have version plus release. And ServiceNow has changed this on the UI at least. It might have been always that way in the back end, so that there's now a relationship between release and version number. So we might actually take care of that too if we get some time. So what am I talking about? What did Jace tell me? I'll pull over my Google Doc here. He basically, we were talking on LinkedIn. I was voicing my frustration with the updated store, and it messed up my crawler. And so he found these URLs that basically is an API endpoint. So the first one here is getting a list of multiple applications. I probably won't use that because what I'm doing is I'm getting a sitemap from the store, and then I'm actually crawling whatever's in that sitemap. That way I don't have to query for a list of applications. I'm just saying, give me your sitemap, and then I'll know all the applications and I'll crawl them. The second one actually is probably what I want. So this is requesting a specific store listing, and it's identifying the application with this GUID or the sysid. You can see the same one down here, not the same one, a different app down here. So what we're going to try to do is this use this endpoint for listings, and it'll pass in the application ID that I have in my application. And then that way we should be able to retrieve an XML of the application details, and then we'll need to transform that and load it into my database so that I have that for my episodes. And so that should make future episodes super awesome. So let's start with some basic testing. What I want to do is make sure that we can at least get some information using this URL. And not that I don't trust Jace, but I just need to try it from within my instance and make sure it's working as expected. So I do have an action in my application. So I actually have a lot more actions than I thought I did. But get application details is probably the one I'm going to use. I'm probably just going to copy this and make a V2 of it. That way I don't lose the original if I ever need to go back to it or reference it. And then I can go back into my subflows or my flows, depending on where it is. Gosh, I have a lot of those. This is a very flow designer heavy application. I'll go back into those and replace the action for get application details with the new one once we get it up and running. So before we do that, let's go ahead and open up that action and see what's going on. The idea is, again, I've crawled the sitemap. I have a bunch of applications, and so I'm going to pass the application information to this action. When we were doing this before, Jason and I realized that we needed to create a cookie in order for us to be able to talk to the store or use the API. That's the way it used to work. He's saying it doesn't work that way now. So what that means is I would have to actually get the cookie, get store token and cookie. You can see right here. So that was just making a handshake, if you will, and then I can take that cookie and plug it into this action in order to get my request, my REST step to request that information for the application. I don't think I'm gonna have to do that going forward, but I'm not gonna get ahead of myself and delete these yet, just in case, right? You never know. My mileage may vary when we get here. There is a script step to actually trim up the app ID and the URL. And so, or actually, I guess the length and then the app ID, and it assembles it into an application ID. Okay, I didn't even know I did that. I bet you that's probably looking for extra characters. Maybe there was an extra character on something that broke it at some point. This is broken so many times, I've had to fix it so many times. So, okay, so getting to the nitty gritty, this REST step is actually where we're going to plug in that URL. And right now, that base URL is going to come from the location of the application. What the heck does that mean, the location? So if I go back to this is the location of the application. So I was basically using this to grab the page itself, right? So the actual UI page itself. And then I was trying to be all creative and use some logic to parse out exactly what I need. And that would give me this object with a bunch of arguments and app ID and stuff like that. So this is no longer working. Result, let's see here. Surely there's the versioning, all that stuff. So we're going to try to replicate this. But first, now that you've seen it work, let's actually make a copy of it, like I said I was going to do. So we'll copy the action. We need to have it in the right application, so we'll change this to ServiceNow store updates. That's a custom application that I made. It's not something you can buy from the store or download. I don't offer it in GitHub or anything. And the reason I thought about it. The reason I don't is because it's a crawling application, and a crawling application can potentially be misused. If you're hitting the store over and over and over again, requesting information in an automated or looping fashion like I am, I don't want to be the one responsible for distributing that to it. Now you can go do it. Nothing's stopping you. Nothing's stopping me. But I don't want to enable like 1,000 people to do the same thing I'm doing, and then all of a sudden the store goes down, and now I have nothing. So that's why I haven't made it available. So that's my reasoning, at least. So we got our copy, and let's actually make sure that went into the right scope. ServiceNow store updates, yep. So it must have changed my scope for me. But we'll go back to this REST step, and now we can start mucking it up, as I say. So I'm going to get rid of this reference to the location. We might actually use down here in the resource path, we might actually use the app ID that you saw in the URL. So let me go ahead and copy that URL here on the other screen. Paste that in. So now we've got, instead of the URL for the app, snappstore.do hashtag exclamation point / store, now I'm using an API, snstore v1 store listings. Okay. I'm not going to specify a timeout, and we are going to build, I'm not going to need to build the requests manually anymore. So, I didn't know that's been deprecated. I don't want to do it from a REST message. Okay, we'll just do it manually. The resource path is going to be, if I follow this right, is just the app ID. So we can get rid of this now. And now we can go to our inputs. I didn't want to create an input. What the heck? Oh, that's right. I gotta grab. Okay, so my user token, cookies, store application. Actually, this is still good. I still have this input, which I'm gonna need. So let's go back here and change this resource path to inputs, store application. I don't want the actual store application. I want to grab the application ID, the string value, right? So I am storing that application ID in there. So let's grab that. It'll be a post. Now I don't need to do any of this cookie stuff that I was doing. So I'm going to get rid of the user token, and we're going to still say we accept JSON or text. But I think when I plugged this in, let's just do a test real quick. I thought it was XML. Let's just put it in our web browser here real quick. Yeah, it returns an XML response with all the store information. So, okay. So let's leave that. We might have to change that here in a second. We'll leave the content type. I don't need the cookie any longer. And we'll do a form URL encoded. And I don't need any of the sysparm data because I'm not doing this the same way. I'm using an API now. So let's just save that. And I don't know what release it was, but there is the ability to test your REST messages. So let's test this. Application ID input. We'll use the same one that comes in my sample. So I'm just looking on my other screen again and pasting in that application ID. What application was that? This is source app ID. That's the requirements, version details, product website, installation guide. What is the name of this? Okay, security incident response integration with Spectre Ops Bloodhound is the name of the application we're querying. So let's see if we can actually, that should be this ID. There's no spaces or anything, so it should be good. We'll run our test. This is actually the easy part. Okay, we got an error message. Method not supported, detail post method not supported for API. This is the fun part about, so far as I know, this is an undocumented API. Let's actually Google that API. Let's go to developer.servicenow.com. If you haven't, there's a reference to all the API documentations. And let's see if SN underscore store, right? So this is the API, and then this is the endpoint SN underscore store v1. So let's see if that's actually in here. Yeah, they're not going to put it here. I didn't think it would be here. It's probably an internal SN underscore store. Yeah, so there's no documentation. So you got to figure this out without documentation, which is fine. Speaking of the PDI outage, I'm calling it the great PDI outage of 2025. I hope it's the only great PDI outage. I don't know what happened. Probably something with their infrastructure. It's a free thing they provide to us. So I'm super, super grateful. Not complaining at all. It's just inconvenient. It's actually motivating me to think about buying an instance, so I don't have this problem anymore. But okay. So we're not gonna be able to do a post. So let's do a, and that makes sense. I need a get. We're not going to post anything or put anything. So let's do a get. And with that, do I need to change it? I still don't need any query parameters, I don't think. And all of this should be good. So let's save. And we'll test it again. Ooh, is it still on my clipboard? Nope. I have to copy that again. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. So I live on the East Coast. I'm not close to the coast, but I live on the East Coast of the United States. And we're going through like a cicada thing right now. And so outside, over my headphones, outside my door, I can hear the cicadas sitting there just doing their thing. It's so cool. I tried looking for some like audio so you could hear what I hear, but it none of the audio I found online matches what I'm hearing outside. It's a really, really unique sound. And I think it's cool. So, okay, we got extra result. So here's the result. It is in JSON. It is not in XML like we did when we pasted it in. Let's make sure it's the right application too. Good grief. It's all just, reading JSON is always a fun effort. It doesn't look like the same application. What did we say that was? Security incident response integration. Did it go anywhere? Let's try this. This is Flexera 1. Interesting that I got a different ID. Did I use a different ID? Oh, I used a different ID. Okay, so let's grab the correct one there, and we'll just leave this open. And then let's try that test one more time. I just want to validate that we're doing the right thing. We're getting the same thing. Okay, this looks better already. I see Bloodhound. Security incident response integration with SpectreOps Bloodhound. Okay, so we're getting the information. We got the information, which is good. This is going to be important when you're doing these, when you're building these REST steps, and then you need to like transform them from a complex object into, back into your database or into your tables. This text right here is basically the sample text that we're going to use to transform that using this JSON parser step. So let's save. Well, we don't need to save. So we got everything good here. Don't need to make any changes. Well, we did make a change. We changed the base URL. We changed the resource path to use the application ID. Changed the HTTP method to get, and we got rid of the cookie and authentication pieces or user token. So now that that part's complete, I know. Should I use this application ID? Let's say inputs dot URL length app ID equals. Okay, so this was actually taking. Why did I do that? That is so weird. This was taking the URL of the application, extracting the last 32 characters, which was the app ID, and storing it in an output called application ID. I definitely don't need this anymore because I store the application ID in its own field. So we can safely get rid of that. We can safely get rid of the user token now, input, and we can get rid of the cookies input. Don't need that any longer. And I don't need the resource path any longer. So we'll turn that off. Now I got a nice clean input of just the store application, so I can dot walk my way to the things that I need. And we've updated our REST step. And we now can move on to this JSON parser step. Okay. So this one right now is using a scripted way to create that. So I was basically, oh God, I forgot about this. This was such a nightmare. Let's see if I can expand this. So when I was getting, when I was not using a REST API endpoint, I was just crawling a page. There was just this bunch of nonsense inside of the different fields. So I had ChatGPT or something write the what do you call this? Whatever the syntax is for searching text. And it wrote all this. And so I had to have this. So this is really important. I don't want to lose this. So let's actually, I don't need this anymore, I don't think, now that I've got a JSON object coming back. But let's put this in my document where I have these URLs. You should be documenting or backing up your stuff at some point. And so this is like a scratch pad for me inside of a folder where I'm managing or tracking this. So that's all that is. I'll tuck that back away. And now I can get rid of all this text in here because I don't need it any longer. Hopefully I don't need it any longer. And we'll turn off the script and we'll let it have the response body from the REST step. So that's still correct. So REST step has a response body, which you can see there above my head. So that's actually the input or source data. And then the target here, so this root complex object on the right-hand side, just behind my head, I didn't type all that up. I didn't do all that. What I did is delete all this stuff here. We're going to paste in that payload that we had when we tested it into here and then have it generate the target app based on that payload. I think I might have put something else on my clipboard. Yes, I got to go find it again. So let's just save our work. We'll go test our REST up again. I'm a big fan of saving my work, especially with PDIs going up and down. You want to make sure that you're backed up. And by the way, I haven't said this today. If you have a comment, feel free to drop it. I have all the commenting stuff hooked up. I can feature it and happy to have a conversation. I like when these are interactive. But this is definitely a to-do item for me, so it's okay if you're not interacting. I won't be offended. Okay, let's grab that application ID again, not the incorrect one. We'll grab this one, paste it in there. And maybe I'll paste this output into my Word document or my Google Doc as well, so that we don't have to do this again if I lose it again. So let's just go to a couple of breaks there, paste that in, good, got it back up. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, just primitive little scratch pad to use in this JSON parser. Certain 591 is the first. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Your name looks familiar. Were you on the last live stream for a meeting cab? I think you were. But welcome. Glad to have you. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're going to paste in all that stuff. It does it in a single line. And there's everything. Now, once I move out of that field, unable to get updated complex object schema with previews per new sample for JSON from server. That's fine. We're going to generate a target. Generate target. And that should repopulate this here on the right-hand side to match, yeah, it does, what we're seeing now from the store. So I've got ID, status, title, tagline. So I'll probably use the title, the description, the key features, requirements. But where it's really going to get interesting, company I know I use, is the version details. So where they're creating a version with a release and release notes and release type. Release type and release. See, this is one of the other things I was missing. So in the new UI, oh, so frustrating. In the old UI for the ServiceNow store, it would say minor update, major update, bug fix or something like that. And that helped me with curating like my categories for what I was doing. So, oh, that's right. You were the Ghibli guy. That's right. I remember that. That was fun. I actually used that again during a live stream, I think. Was that the live stream? Maybe it was the same live stream. But anyways, yes, I remember you now. It's hard to remember like monikers like that, but certain 591, I don't mind, and I'm glad to have you back. So yeah, I even lost the release type with this new UI. It doesn't show that any longer when you're looking at this. So it's missing, and that was actually really helpful for me curating. So it'd be nice if that actually has a value. I don't know if it does yet. Let's actually look for in this one, release type. Yeah, there it is, major. And this was so important when I was crawling and trying to figure out. It's got a compatibility list. Yeah, I'm so excited. This is going to be so fun. Okay, so we're actually almost all the way there with this one because once this is parsed, we'll have all the information as an output in our action. So it's going to take I don't want to edit the output. It's going to take the step of the JSON parser step, if I hover over there, and then it's going to grab the root object. Let me move my head so I can show you. So this is the JSON parser step over here that's actually referencing this step right here. It's taking the root object and dropping it into a label or value of or output of application details. And then my flow is using that output in order to do its processing. So we're going to go into a flow after this, after we change out the action to use the new one. So everything's good from my perspective. I should have everything I need. So we're going to do one major test, not just the rest step. We're going to test the whole thing. So let's go ahead and test. We got to select a store application now because now it's not just an ID. And let's search for that same one, security, incident, response, integration with Bloodhound something. Proof point, Spectre Ops Bloodhound. All right, so we're going to run that test. Run that test. We need test running music. Oops, too late. Test is finished. You don't get any music. Sorry. All right. So we got a fail. JSON parser operation failed. The transformer returned null as an output. Let's look at the steps there. I might need that script step back if it's failing on the parsing. Response body, bad request, invalid listing ID, 8351 BFC2. Huh. Let's look at let's go to my database as store applications here. We're going to look up that same application, security, incident, response, integration with Bloodhounds. There it is. And I don't want the fingerprint, I want the application ID, which is right here. 835 ends in BFC2, which is not the same thing that Jace gave me here. So what is that then? Is it not the application ID? All right, let's look further in here. Okay. So it's a different ID. ID is 5400. Okay. Okay. Well, this will be fun. Let us. How am I going to get that ID? Don't have that in my database. This is the fun part about live streaming. Now you're going to see me figure this out on the fly because I wasn't expecting this particular issue. Is that ID different than the application ID though? Source app ID. Yeah, it's the same. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. So this ID up here is coming from right here. ID. So there's a separate ID field in addition to the source app ID, which is what I was using. So now I need to have this ID. And because of the way I'm crawling based on the store map, and the store map is not going to have this other ID probably, right? So let's check that store map. Boy, I wasn't expecting to go in this. We're going to do store.servicenow.com, and we're going to do sitemap.xml. It's pretty standard that there should be a sitemap for a given URL. Wasn't expecting it to log me out. Okay, so it doesn't like that. Store. Let's do. It'd be funny if I can't do that anymore. Oh, that's my instance. Store.servicenow.com / store. We'll try a sitemap there. Well, where am I grabbing the sitemap from? Okay, that's a different action. So let's go find that one. Get sitemap complex object. Set store application fields. Get sitemap attachment. Retrieve application page. Where am I getting the store? The sitemap. Path to sitemap. That's not helpful. Justin. Crawl 1. Retrieve store token and cookie. Crawl 1. App page caller. It's not here. Scheduled ServiceNow store sync version 2. This is like the submit catalog item request. Oh, that's just actually doing it on Saturdays, so I don't have to do it manually. Okay, that wasn't what I needed. ServiceNow store sync v2 is what I need. So we're on v2 of the actual sync. What I need is get the sitemap attachment. And okay, it was going to, oh yeah, I had the URL totally wrong. Okay, let's try this. And we'll paste all that. I'm not going to change anything here. I'm just doing that to format it. Paste this in my URL, and now I got the sitemap. All right, and so the sitemap just has this. So they didn't say what ID that is, but I'm pretty certain that's the app ID, not the ID that we saw in XML. So let's actually search for what we saw. I just want to get some clarity on this before I spend too much time. So this is the app ID for the Bloodhound app. Let's see if we see it in the sitemap. Paste. There it is. So it's using the app ID, but let's check that other ID, which was down here. There it is, ID. We'll search the sitemap for that. It is not found. So, how am I going to work around this? I could use that other endpoint where I get just a bunch of listings, but that's going to be throttled, and I really don't want to deal with that. So, but I got to get the ID somehow. this open anymore. Don't need that open anymore. This is the execution details. So we're gonna have to do something in here to give it the right application ID. Now let's go back to here. Do I have any other IDs? I got application ID. I don't have any other IDs. And let's just make sure there's nothing not showing. There's a sys ID, obviously, for me in my instance on this record. Let's see, application ID, application name, no other ID field. So I'm not even storing this in my table, which I'm going to need to. So let's actually take care of that right now. I'm going to need to store this somewhere. So let's go ahead and go switch application scope to ServiceNow store updates. And we're going to add a new field on our store entries for ID, just ID. I might prefix it with store ID on my database. So let's do that. We're going to do a new field. What did I do? String 40 for this one. Okay, so let's keep it simple. I think it's 32, but we'll keep it at that. String column label will be store ID. Perfect. Set that to 40. We won't default it to anything. It will be active. We're not going to make it display. Is that everything I need? Okay, we'll hit submit. Excuse me. I ate lunch right before the stream. I feel like I got pepper in my throat. Okay, so now I got a new field for store ID. Let's go to page 2 here. I hate that this all the way scrolled to the top for that. Store ID is there. Okay, so let's go back to our form. This one, I'm going to add that field using Form Builder. Getting to see a lot of behind the scenes in this live stream. There's the store ID already showing up. How is that possible? Oh, I put it in the, I want it down here in the application details. So let's grab it and move it on down. Oop, sorry, Mac bar. Let's put it underneath the application ID. So I have app ID, store ID. We'll make this read only because I don't need to be changing it. I just need to find it, programmatically populate it, and then use it in my flows, which I still haven't figured out yet how I'm going to do. Let's go ahead and reload the form. Okay, there we go. So I got app ID, store ID, platform plugin ID. Interesting. I wonder if that was what it was. Platform plugin ID, but I don't have any values there. Let's do store applications, search where platform plugin ID is not empty. Run. Oh, I do have some with that. This will be a good test. Oh, that's the, oh, I've seen, yeah, it's the, like the text version ID of your plugins or your applications. So that's not what I wanted. Okay. All right. So I got a place to store the store ID now. Now I need to figure out how to get the store ID in there. I might need a separate flow for this because what I could do is use this first URL to query it and then look for that ID. All right, let's see what this one does. The one I'm referring to, I'm off screen here, is this first one that Jace gave me where I get a page of 1 and limit of 12. I assume I'm going to have to do 2 and 3 and 4. I don't know how that actually works because this API is not documented as far as I know. So let's just copy paste this into a browser window. All right, so that retrieves 12 applications in this listings object. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right. And with those 12, I get a title, a logo. Interesting. That'd be cool if I could pull in a logo. And that's it. Okay, so it's just giving really, really high level details. But oh, look at that. It does give, oh no, is that the company name? Nope, that's not the company. So it gives all the high level details plus this unique ID, which is what I need. So how much limit. Let's see if I go through and remove this sort and the limit. Will it give me everything? Yeah. It limited it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and so its default limit is 20, it looks like. Oh, there it is. Limit 20. How many applications are there? In my inventory, there are 3,881, but let's make sure those are active. Active is true. There are 3,239 active ones. So I'd have to like query. See, this is where the crawling can take a while. 32, 39 divided by 20, 161 queries, 162 basically, 162 queries to get one time the application ID. It doesn't really help my, I wish there was a way I could somehow get the documentation. So you know listings is an endpoint. Requested URL does not represent any resource. Let's just go Google this SN Store API and see if there's some random documentation. API v1, App Store server, GitHub, Amazon. You know, let's throw a ServiceNow in front of that. Why does it know this? The ServiceNow SN Store API is a RESTful API that allows external systems to interact with ServiceNow Store. How in the world does it know this? We already looked here and it wasn't there, right? I don't see SN Store. 404. REST API list, account API. Oh, maybe it's in here. Service contract, service catalog, scorecards. Yeah, I don't see this API. How does is the AI making stuff up again? Because how could it know that? On the REST API Explorer. Oh, is it built in? REST API Explorer here. This is another place where you can like kind of see how the REST APIs work in ServiceNow. Let's see. There's always text during my live streams. And guess who it is? It always texts during my live streams. Allison. Namespace is now. Let's do SN Store. No SN Store. Yep, definitely not there. Definitely not here. There's no store. That's the table API. I don't know why it would be here anyways, to be honest. I'm going to try a trick. Okay, so let me show you what I'm doing. So in your instance, when I went to the REST API Explorer, this was the path to the REST API Explorer. I suspect that the ServiceNow store is actually running ServiceNow as the backend. Now, I think a couple of people disagree with me, but sometimes I don't know if you've been in here, it can act kind of like a ServiceNow instance. So we'll just try pasting that in and see if I can see the APIs for the store. It wants me to log in, which I don't think I can log in. Can I log in? I might be. So I have a partner account. Let's try that. I'm gonna move it off screen. Sorry, guys. I moved it way too far off screen. Let's move that off screen. I'm gonna plug in my partner credentials and see if that works. What the heck? Crossviews.com. Password. Paste the password. Please sign me into the store. Authenticator app. Oh, MFA. Single sign-on. ServiceNow. I'm on my phone now. There's tree people in the neighborhood. For those of you who don't know, I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and we're still going through the cleanup from the hurricane last year. And someone is going to town on some trees since this morning. 389692. Submit. All right. Look at that. Access is denied. Let's go back to the store. Okay, I'm logged in on the upper right left there. So we're going, you can't see what I'm doing. So again, I'm just pasting in, now that I've authenticated, that I just did something stupid. All right. I need to change my password. Let's see. I need to do that right now. I just basically pasted my password for you all to see. So let's see if I can fix that. Manage settings. See, you never know where a live stream is going to take you. Change password. There we go. Bear with me for just a second. Old password. New password. Paste. 3. Passwords must have at least 8 characters, a lower letter, an uppercase letter, a number, a symbol, and no parts of your email or username. I thought that's what I did. Now I gotta go find the old password. There's no password history. There we go. That was hard to find in Bitwarden, your password history. Harder than I thought. And now let's look at this password. Edit. What is missing? Oh, there's no symbols. So we'll just add a symbol and save that. Paste. 6NY42. Now a CAPTCHA on the form. Okay, password's changed. I'm good. Feel better now. Lesson number 1 from Justin: don't copy and paste your password into a live stream. And if you do, change it right away. It doesn't matter how important your live stream is. Security is really important. So yeah, I don't even remember what I was doing. Okay, we're trying to figure out this API. So let's go back to here. I've got the listings. I know I can get 20 at a time. I've got the sitemap that has the application IDs, but not the ID of the app. All right, so let's see this. Let's go to the sitemap, which was this guy. Now, let us find not IBM Instana. Here we go. History. Where is that? Security incident response integration. And we're just going to search for this application ID in the sitemap. Here it is. So let's take this URL, this location as it's called, and we're just going to open that. So we're going to go to that. It should go straight to the store. And it's in the old UI. Go figure. Now, can I see that ID on this page is the next question. Up above, you can see in the URL, I have the application ID, not the ID that we saw in the other one. So let's view source on this page and see if we have another ID in here. And actually, we know the other ID we're looking for, so let's go find that. That was that. What was that? That was that one, and then the other one is, that's the logo. Here it is, the ID right here. So let's see if we can see that in the store. If I can find it. All right, search. We'll paste in, and it does. Oh, enter. I pasted the wrong thing. Copy. Paste. Great. It's not in the actual page of the store. Ay, ay, ay. How did Jace even find this endpoint? I don't understand how he even knew that that would work. All right. I wonder if there's another endpoint besides listing. Like, is there a query or a search? And that's kind of hard to find because I'm not an actual developer. But what I think what Jace is doing. So let's go to a different store application because this was opening up in the old interface. So I think what he's doing, and it'd be cool if we can replicate it. This should be on the new one. Okay, this went to the new one. I think what he's doing is he's going into developer tools, which is not that. More tools, developer tools, and he's watching what is happening from this page. And this is where I get lost and how he finds this stuff. So I'm just going to reload the page. And oh, that's interesting. Store/app is the URL I'm in. How does he actually, oh, is this what it is? So there's somewhere where he's actually seeing the request go through, and that's where he finds it. There's a fetching, script. See, I'm out of my element now. I don't actually know what I'm doing. I'm just desperate to try to figure this out. An application, background services. I don't think that's anything I need. And sources, I know all of that stuff, but it's not going to be there. Yeah, I guess I could watch the console. These are just gets. Consumer account, unread message. Okay, so let's do this. Let's click here. I went to the store. And I guess that's forbidden. And then let's click on an app. And that didn't do anything for me. I didn't see anything come out. Or is it just doing errors? Verbose. Let's go back, click on something again. Still not what I want. CS consumer account, yeah. Okay, that's not working like I want. So let's close developer tools. And let's just do some basic store. I want to see if there's a search endpoint. Requested URI does not represent any resource. Search, listings was one. How about listing period? No. Does listings give the same thing? Okay, that does that. How about query? That doesn't do anything. SN store, SN v1 store. What if there's a search? Listings is such a weird endpoint. I need more endpoints, Jace. Let's search the internet for this. Takes me to store. REST API reference, which we know it's not there. We've already been in there. Nope. Nope. Very little search results too. Why did you let me go to page 2 and there's nothing there? Stupid Google. Okay, so that's not giving me any results. Man, I got 8 minutes left and I haven't fixed anything. This is frustrating. So I can't. I'm gonna have to use this listings thing, and it looks like I'm gonna have to paginate through all these different pages. So if we go back to his original one, he had page 1, page 1 and limit is 12 in his. And actually, I don't want to sort by recent. Can I sort by title? Nope. Bad parameter, title. Sort by, that's the name of the company. There's title, which is the name of the app. Okay, let's just get rid of the sort. Come in there, delete. Page equals 1 and limit equals 12. See if that works. It does. And if I do page 2, it does move through. So how many pages did I say earlier? Where's that calculator? 162. So let's do 161. Okay. 162. I think that might be it. 163. Oh, there's more. Okay, how far out does this go? Oh, wait. It might be going through all of them. Let's go back to what was my get rid of active equals true. The total was 3,881. See, I'm not using the UI anymore, so I might actually see all 3,000 divided by, what did I say, 20? 194. And I just realized I actually, where is it at? Let's change this limit to 20 and go back to 161 that I calculated before. Okay, that does not look like 20, so there probably shouldn't be a 162. Okay, there's not. So it's 161 times I'm going to have to query and update. So what we're going to do in the last few minutes, we're going to start a new flow. That's what I'm going to have to do. Just going to bite the bullet and do this. I guess this is going to be the new way I crawl. So if we do that, we need to ServiceNow store sync. We're going to have a v3. is turning into more than I thought. So this get sitemap attachment is actually importing it, and then it starts working through that. I don't like the way this is going. So new flow. I'm going to do new action first now that I think about it. New action. Get store listings in the right application scope. I'm going to build that action. I don't need an input. Yes, I do. I need to know what page number I'm on. So that's going to be part of my loop that I create. So we'll create a variable for page number. So it'll be a number or an integer. Yeah, integer. It'll be mandatory. And save. We will do a rest step. And it's not going to be a connection alias because there's no connections or authentication, I mean. And then we're going to grab this base URL. Let's go all the way to store. Paste. And then our resource path will be /listings. Oops. Listings. And then what was it? Question mark page equals. Okay, so we're going to have to use a variable in here, this page number. And that is going to be here, input page number. So we're going to manually request the page number, and then we'll get an object back with the listings. And it'll have that ID. So we're going to save our work, and we're going to test our rest step. We'll choose page number 160. 161. Got ZebX Platinum. And does 160 have anything? It doesn't. So I need to back up. 150. Okay, 150 does. 155. Running out of time. Okay, 154. We're back at that ZebX Platinum, so I know I'm at the end. That's not the end. Maybe it was 53. 52. 51. 50. Okay, so 51 is the last one. 151. I don't know what I'm going to do when a new application comes out, because how am I going to know to crawl 151 times 20 is what? 151 times 20 is 3,020 applications. That might increase or decrease. So I'm going to have to build in some logic for hitting the end of that. But let's go to page 151. Run that test. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It wasn't much of a demo other than seeing me scramble a little bit. Okay, we did get the results. It's the last tail end of it. So that action works. Cancel. Then we just need one more step to parse that. So we'll do our JSON parser here. Source data is going to be that rest step response body, just like we did before. And we know the data looks like this. Actually, no, we don't want to use that. We're going to go back up here, test it again. 151. I should have copy and pasted that body, that response body. There it is. Copy, close, cancel, JSON parser step, paste. Click somewhere else, generate target, and there is what the result will look like. And then I'm going to have to enumerate through these listings and match them up to the entry in my database and populate that ID, that store ID, for all of my apps. So I guess I could say, I don't know how to tell that. Maybe I'll reach out to Jace. How do I tell when there's no more pages of data with these REST endpoints? Or, I could ask ChatGPT. I'll do that. So we're gonna stop there. We're at time, so I saved that. I will be here next Friday. I'm next Wednesday. Sorry. Actually, I might not be here next Wednesday. So I've got there's something personal came up, and I don't think I'll be able to be on next Wednesday. But next week we're gonna play by ear. But usually I'm here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1700 UTC, depending on what time of the year it is. It's 1700, 1800. And that's 5 p.m. for normal people that don't speak 24-hour time, 5 or 6 p.m. UTC. So I'm here every week. When I turn off the stream and the video comes back up, there's going to be a little QR code. That QR code will take you to all my socials, including LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, everything you can think of. That'll link to all my stuff. I will have probably a ServiceNow store highlights out tomorrow because I'm almost done curating that episode. I've got about 20-ish applications left to review. There was about 40-ish total in the episode. If you want a preview of what's coming for tomorrow, you have 46 total ones, and there was 4 new releases. So I just got to finish going through the stuff that hasn't been screened yet, which is about 20 more applications. Should get that recorded and edited today, so we can come out tomorrow. And then, yeah, I might have some surprises in for you on Friday and Saturday, more stuff from Vegas. So be on the lookout for that. But if you liked this stream, which I doubt anybody did because it was kind of sporadic, please subscribe, or share it with somebody who you think might be interested in creating a crawler application to crawl the ServiceNow store and put it in your PDI and share it with everybody else on YouTube so they can understand what's new and updated in the ServiceNow store. And until next time, don't forget to always be learning. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for sticking around. Here we go.